In the middle of space, the crew of the USS Callister notices an incoming enemy spaceship. While they discuss how to proceed, the enemy opens fire and the Callister takes heavy damage. Captain Daly makes the crew fly the ship into a gas cluster where they can charge their cannons even though it also puts their shields at risk. Once they're charged, they're able to shoot the enemy's vessel. Then Daly contacts the other ship to talk to the bad guy Baldak, offering to let him go if he gives them back the mythical crystal. Baldak refuses, so Daly orders his crew to shoot again to destroy the enemy's ship. The system says Baldak has escaped, but the group celebrates their victory anyway and Daly kisses the two women in the crew. However, this isn't real. This fantasy the real Daly, who works at Callister Incorporated as Chief Technical Officer. The company is in charge of Infinity, a virtual reality video game that is accessed through a neuronal interface. Daly has designed a private level in this game that simulates his favorite show Starfleet, and he uses his co-workers as characters. Since they all treat him badly at work, Daly gets to mistreat them back in the simulation. One day Daly meets the new programmer Nanette, who is a big fan of his work. They chat for a while but are interrupted by Walton, the company's CEO. He and Daly started the project together, but Walton is the main face and says Daly is just the hardware. Walton asks Daly to have the next game update ready before Christmas and takes Nanette away for a big tour, which makes Daly frustrated and jealous. After work, Daly goes home and enters the simulation. The Walton character is a loser in this fantasy, and when he says he's failed to track Baldak, Daly starts choking him while insulting him. Then he makes Walton get on his knees to use him as an ottoman. The next day at work, Daly has to watch how Walton keeps trying to flirt with Nanette, who doesn't look too interested. She's much nicer to Daly and even offers to bring him coffee. At the snack table, Nanette tells a coworker how much she admires Daly's work while he overhears her nearby. However, the coworker warns her that Walton is a player who hits on every woman and that Daly can be kinda creepy. When Nanette brings Daly the coffee, she acts a bit colder. After everyone goes home, Daly takes Nanette's coffee cup from the trash and brings it to his place to gather a DNA sample. Then he puts it on a petri dish and leaves it for the computer to scan. The following day, a new virtual Nanette wakes up in the Callister simulation. She feels very lost, and when she looks out the window she can't believe she's in space. As she looks around, she finds the rest of the crew and recognizes their faces from the office, but they don't recognize her. The crew explains that they're digital copies of the real people stuck in Daly's game. He gathered their DNA after they angered him for dumb reasons like insufficient smiling or caught him staring. They were created many years ago and are curious to know how their real selves are doing nowadays. Nanette freaks out and refuses to believe she isn't real. At that moment, the lights are turned on to announce Daly's arrival, and Nanette immediately runs away. She finds a door at the end of the corridor and tries pounding on it, only for her hands to start to glow. Her whole body suddenly becomes code and teleports her back to the main deck, where Daly introduces her to the others with a new name. Nanette refuses to play along, so Daly snaps his fingers to make her face disappear, causing her to collapse because she can't breathe. He keeps asking her to submit, and when she nods he gives her back her face. Afterward, Nanette helps the others track Baldak and they find him on a planet named Ranach. Daly and most of the crew are teleported to the surface, and while Daly scans the area, Nanette asks her teammates for a gun. They have to explain that the crew's guns are fake and only Daly's is real, which means they can't die unless he kills them. Suddenly the group is startled by Baldak appearing nearby to summon a huge monster. However, the creature freezes when Daly pauses the game because his pizza delivery has arrived. Once he's got his food, Daly returns to the game and says there's a naked lady nearby to distract Baldak so he can shoot him down. The monster runs away in fear while his master falls and begs for the end. Daly refuses to kill him, claiming it goes against the fleet code. Afterward, the crew celebrates another victory on the ship. Daly kisses the women as usual, but when he tries with Nanette, she slaps him. Daly considers hurting her but announces that today he'll show mercy. If tomorrow she doesn't cooperate, she'll be punished. After Daly leaves, the crew tells her Daly's kisses are only lip bumping with no tongue, not to mention that it can't go further than that. It turns out none of them have private parts, they have smooth groins like dolls. A furious Nanette is determined to get revenge on Daly and uses the ship's computer to look at the game code. She accesses the messaging system and sends an email to her real self, telling her that people are trapped inside Daly's computer. The real Nanette is confused and asks Daly if he sent her a game invite, so he tells her it must have been a spam bot and asks her to delete the message. Getting suspicious, Daly then logs in using the office computer. He starts yelling at everyone, so Nanette quickly confesses she did it to save the others. Daly is about to punish her, but another crew member asks for mercy since she's new and still learning the rules. Pretending to agree, Daly instead transforms that woman into a monster, revealing that the one they fought before had also been a misbehaved character that was punished. He tells the crew to dump the new creature on a planet and reminds Nanette to behave before he leaves. Sometime later, Nanette notices a wormhole nearby and how it's affecting the ship's computer, which means the wormhole is the incoming update patch installing itself. She rushes to tell the rest of the crew that if they fly the ship into the wormhole, they can destroy the ship and finally end this torment. Nanette is already planning how to get her real self's attention while the whole crew agrees to help except for Walton. He's terrified of Daly because at the beginning when it was just the two of them, Daly brought a copy of his son too. Daly made Walton watch his kid go into the airlock and be shot into deep space, where his body froze and cracked. Walton knows that if he rebels, Daly will just bring them back for more torture because he keeps their DNA in the fridge. Nanette tells Walton they'll steal the DNA too, which convinces him to help. The next time Daly logs in, Nanette pretends to behave and says there's a distress signal coming from a nearby planet. She also convinces him to go with only her. Once they reach the planet, Nanette takes off her clothes and gets in the lake while flirting with Daly to make him join her. Daly takes off his clothes too and drops his controller, which the crew immediately teleports back to the ship. Using this controller, the crew hacks into Nanette's cloud account to find her intimate pictures. They send her to the real Nanette before calling her, saying that if she doesn't want her pictures posted on naughty sites she must follow their instructions. Moments later the real Nanette is sneaking into Daly's balcony and orders a pizza for this address. The crew sends the controller back to the planet and Daly hears the doorbell alert, so he pauses the game. While Daly gets the door, real Nanette breaks into the apartment and steals the DNA samples. She also replaces his controller with a fake toy before escaping. When Daly tries to play again, he can't connect to the game. The crew teleports Nanette back to the ship and starts flying toward the wormhole, but they must hurry before the update is done. Unfortunately Daly has a spare controller and soon he's back in the game. When he realizes he's been abandoned, he searches the planet for the distress signal and finds a shuttle, which he uses to return to space. A chase ensues so the crew has no choice but to fly through an asteroid belt, which causes lots of shaking and damage to their shields. When they're on their way out of the belt, the ship is hit so hard that they lose power. The only way to kickstart the engines is manually, which would incinerate the person. Walton immediately volunteers and while he rushes to the engine, he contacts the shuttle to tell Daly off. The crew hears Walton scream of pain while the engine burns him to death. They make the ship start moving as fast as possible and it crosses the wormhole right before it closes while Daly is left behind. After a very shaky trip, the crew is shocked to find themselves in normal clothes. It turns out if they don't think of a plan soon, they won't survive for much longer. In the real world, Nanette is still working at Callister Incorporated. Daly is dead and seeing the memorial at the office every day fills Nanette with guilt. The game's admin inbox is full of messages from clients complaining about the robbers with no player tags, but when Walton is informed of this issue he ignores it. A reporter comes to interview Walton and Nanette hacks the security cameras to hear the conversation. This guy has footage from the person who found Daly dead and can see the DNA cloner on Daly's desk. That technology is supposed to be banned and the reporter links it to the rumors of robbers and blood in the game, accusing Daly of making digital clones. Walton denies it all and kicks the reporter out. Afterward he looks for an employee to take care of the bandits and Nanette volunteers, so he grants her full access to the system. In the game, Nanette is trying to rob another player but accidentally steps onto a trap and an explosion leaves her severely wounded. The character gets ready to kill her but Dudani shoots her down first. Furious, the player logs in again to make her character fight Dudani hand to hand. This time he impales her on a tree before he and Nanette take her credits and run. However the player keeps sending the character back to continue the chase no matter how many times they shoot her. At the same time a player's ship contacts the Callister and realizes they don't have tags, so they open fire. They can't fly away without Nanette and Dudani so the shields are receiving heavy damage. Thankfully the duo finally makes it to the portal and returns just in time to escape from their attackers. Soon the robbed player sends footage of the incident to the company and Nanette is shocked to see her own face. She talks to Walton and tells him everything that happened the night of Daly's death, including finding his son's DNA in the fridge. She's tracked the blackmailing call and discovered it came from Daly's computer, so she concludes their digital clones were asking for help. This means they're the robbers loose in the game. Walton has secretly kept Daly's computer and tells Nanette to use it to find the clones. On the ship, the crew is tired of living like this and is considering self-deleting. However, Nanette comes up with an idea. They should create a private universe like the one Daly had. To do this they need the source code, which is hidden in the heart of infinity. The only people with access to the heart are Daly and Walton, but they're both dead in the game. Carl says they should check out Walton's room for clues and the crew is shocked to hear there's a room at all. When the ship left the private universe it spawned rooms for every living player, so if Walton has a room it means he's alive. The wormhole must have reset him, however new characters respawn on planets, not on ships. The crew tracks down Walton's planet while Nanette is doing the same in the real world. Meanwhile digital Walton is trying to survive on his own by fishing and hunting. At that moment he's found by Nanette and at first he's defensive, but he hugs her when he realizes she's come to save him. The real Nanette and Walton log in and appear behind some rocks, where they hide to watch themselves. Nanette wants to help them, but Walton wants to shoot all the clones to get rid of the evidence. Nanette hears a noise and shoots the rocks, forcing the duo to come out. Seconds later all four of them return to the ship and the Nanettes argue about what to do. Walton uses the chance to steal a gun and opens fire, ignoring real Nanette when she says the clones are more than just code. While the others hide, Carl tries to fight Walton, who immediately shoots him dead. Digital Nanette uses the opening to beat Walton up and shoot him in the head, forcing him to log out. Real Nanette also logs out and kicks Walton to steal the controller so he can't return to the game. Walton follows her out and tries to blackmail her, so Nanette tries walking away from him only to get hit by a car. Before the driver checks on her, Walton quickly takes back his things. In the game, Digital Walton tells the crew that his real counterpart doesn't want them to reach the heart because they'll discover his secret. There's a digital clone of Daly who has been building the game all along. When they created the company, Walton wanted to release the game quickly but Daly couldn't work fast enough. It was Walton who had the digital cloner after his investment in the dirty movie industry failed. Used it to create a second Daly and hit it in the heart, so the game doesn't actually have a source code. Daly is the game engine itself. Seeing how dark Walton can be, Nanette worries about her real self and calls her phone, only for a doctor at the hospital to pick up and tell her that real Nanette is in a deep coma. After hanging up, digital Nanette tells the crew to start flying to the heart. Meanwhile, real Walton calls an employee to get help with a plan. When the ship makes it to the heart, Nanette goes in and finds Daly in a copy of his house. He's his old self, more reserved than vicious. Nanette tells him everything that's happened and asks for his help creating a private universe for the crew. On the ship, digital Walton enters his room and is knocked out by real Walton, who takes his place. Dudani can immediately tell the difference in attitude, but before he can stop him, Walton sends an invitation to all the people the crew robbed. When Dudani captures him, Walton simply logs out. Soon the Callister is surrounded by the ships of thousands of players, who open fire because they want revenge. While the Callister suffers severe damage, Daly asks Nanette if she wants to leave. It turns out that since her real body is brain dead, Daly could send the digital clone to real Nanette's mind and she could have a real life. However, she's connected to the Callister, so if she leaves the ship and the crew will disappear. Nanette refuses to abandon her friends and chooses the private universe instead, causing Daly to admit he was just testing her. He can do both things at the same time, so he starts working, saying he'll copy the crew and paste it in the new universe. Nanette complains, saying she wants to save clones, not make more. Daly promises her it's fine because he'll protect her copy, revealing his plan is to keep her there with him. A desperate Nanette tries to make him see reason and Daly snaps. He removes her mouth and throws her body against the furniture. Among the things falling from the shelves, she finds a collector's blade and throws it at Daly's head, killing him. While Nanette recovers her mouth, Daly's computer announces the kill switch has been activated, so the game is starting to delete itself. Everything starts to shake and the Callister loses its last shield, meaning they're about to get destroyed by a player. Nanette finds the right diskette among Daly's things and inserts it in the computer right before the game explodes, deleting every single file in the company's servers. In the hospital, digital Nanette wakes up in the real body, but she feels rather dizzy. It turns out that Daly's program tried to save the crew, but since the game is gone, it sent them to Nanette's brain too. They call her phone to explain the situation, which kills her excitement. She's promised to create a system to get them out of her mind, but she doesn't seem to be working very hard on it. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos.